Good afternoon, Manchester City fans around the world. Thank you for joining us on Matchday Live, where we are live from the Etihad Stadium for this massive Premier League clash as we welcome Arsenal to the Etihad Stadium. And as you can see here, we are bringing you live pictures of the boys in blue arriving here at the stadium in what is a little bit of a grey and rainy Manchester. But the stage is set for a tantalising fixture. Ederson arriving there, Ruben Diaz, followed by Bernardo Silva and John Stones. Josko Gvardiol as well. What a performance he had earlier on in the week against Inter Milan. Kovacic behind him. Phil Foden as well getting off the bus there. We are going to be bringing you the starting 11 in just a moment. Remember, Matchday Live is the first place you can get Manchester City's starting team. And it's also the only place where we'll be bringing you expert opinion and fantastic guests throughout the show as we build up to this game. And I can tell you, we have got someone making their Matchday Live debut this afternoon. It is an absolute pleasure and privilege to say that I'll be welcoming Niall Quinn to the studio alongside Paul Dickov. And I don't know if I can do this, fans, but I'm gonna. That man there, Jeremy Doku, is in the starting 11. There is an exclusive reveal. He comes in place of Jack Grealish. Welcome along. My name is Cel Spellman, and my goodness, it is an absolute treat to be with you and bring you all the build-up to this game and be alongside Paul Dickov and Niall Quinn. Niall, what a treat to have you here, sir. First of all, was the trip over okay, and what have you made of the start of City's season?
Well, trip over has been really good. The organisation now from your fellow club officers, extraordinary. So delighted to accept the invite and come over and see everybody again. And what Man City have done since we played, it's incredible to come here and just witness the positivity, the professionalism, the level that it's all come to. Still a few old faces, I think, isn't there, that we say hello to and that. But it's an extraordinary club, and just directly going into the start of the season, just business as usual. It's the way you'd expect nearly from Pep's teams, and yet today we have a side who are trying to achieve that as well, and doing the best, I think, of those who are chasing to work out how to overcome Man City. So it's a fascinating game, and I know there's been games where they've cancelled each other out in the last year or so, but something tells me, there'll be a goal or two today. I hope I don't do the curse, Paul, but I feel there's something in the air that says it'll be different today. Yeah,
let's hope it'll be a little bit more than that 0-0 that we saw here last season. Let's dive into it then. Here's your starting 11, chosen by Pep Guardiola. We're shaping up like this. Who else other than Ederson between the sticks? Then we move to our right-back position. Kyle Walker captains this side alongside Manuel Akanji. His centre-half partner today is Ruben Diaz. Of course, rested against Inter Milan, back into the team alongside that man, Josko Gvardiol, who was my man of the match against Inter Milan. He's back, ever-present Rodri in holding midfield role alongside the man, Ilkay Gundogan, who partners Bernardo Silva. As we know, Kevin De Bruyne sadly picking up a knock against Inter Milan. Savinho there. On the right-hand side, we're thinking Jeremy Doku on the left, but who knows, only them two and Pep, really. And there he is, the big man. What a start to the season he's had. Erling Haaland completes our starting 11. Paul, welcome along as well. First thoughts on seeing that starting 11?
Strong team. Obviously, we were hoping after Pep's comments that Kevin might have made it today. But it's not bad when you can bring in Ilkay Gundogan and Bernardo Silva in midfield. Kyle back as well. I think probably the magnitude of the game. Look, Rico Lewis has been fantastic. We all know that. But I think we don't know Arsenal's team yet, but possibly the pace of Martinelli or Trossard if they play out there. Kyle's experience is going to be huge. And then the two wide players, Savinho and Doku, I think it's a bit of a surprise for everybody because Jack's been in great form. But it shows you that Pep wants to go out there and win the game. Great width, trickiness, pace all through the team, and then we've got the big man up front.
Yeah, the big man up front. We'll come to him in just a moment, as we seem to do on every show. But just wanted to pick up on that. Obviously, Doku coming in for Jack there now. You kind of touched upon it there, but why do you think he's maybe gone for Doku on one side and Savinho on the other?
But I've never tried to second guess what Pep does. I don't think it's going to be very profitable if you do that. But you can probably put the fact down to that. In a game like today, I think Doku will do a steadier job in terms of when they have the ball and when they haven't got the ball, and it won't be perhaps as free flowing and as easy as when Grealish normally, just can do his thing, make an effort, and he's got much better at getting back in and filling in the gaps. But in a game where the edge is going to be so close, and what it takes to win this game might be just one mistake here and there on the defensive side, I think a warrior type player like Dickov, who's so quick and so fast, but also knows his job.
Yes.
On the way back, a little bit more than Grealish, I would suggest. But maybe that's in his there. But who knows what way Pep thinks? Okay?
Well, it's even as well which side will they play at, but I guess that'll be in Arsenal players' minds as well. They don't know whether it's Ben White if he does start, or if it's Timber on the other side. They don't know who they're coming up against. Does that get in a fullback's mind, that?
It does as well, and I think Mikel will probably be a little bit surprised, because Pep's picked Jack in the big games when he's been fit, and they're probably expecting Jack to be playing up against White. But as Niall said with Doku, and it's going to be a tight game, and that little bit of magic, little bit of trickery that they've both got. Savinho, I think he's surprised everybody when he's come in. I think in pre-season we thought it might take him a while to settle into the team, but he's got his chance and he's looked absolutely fantastic every game he's played. He's got a trick, he can come inside, he can go down the line. So maybe the games last season being so tight, Pep's maybe looking for a little bit of magic from one of his wide players to make the difference. Just
on Savinho, and question for you both, because obviously we know with sometimes at City it can take a player a season to bed in or so. Why do you think Savinho has settled so quickly? Is that just natural ability now?
Oh, look, there's no formula to say this is exactly how you fit into a team and everything. It's as if whatever inside him, his professionalism, his brilliance has come alive and he feels in the right place. I can go right back to players in my day, and why didn't they do it at a certain club, yet they could do it at another club? And there's a feeling, there's an inner feeling that comes and say, yeah, this is my home, this is where I'm going to be great. And you can see he hasn't shied away from that. He's took that on, hasn't he? And, it's like bring it on. And that's the kind of player that gets to the top. There's no barriers in his way, and not only is he joining in and looking part of it, he's actually in times edging ahead, isn't he, and saying, hey, I'm going to even do more than was expected. But great to watch, and really easy on the eye as a footballer, and got a mindset that just wants more and more, and they're invaluable. They are so precious.
You can really.
Sorry, Cal. I think what's helped him is he's came through the CFG system.
Yes.
Being at Girona, who play very similar. Obviously, Girona, different club, different team, and everything else, but the style of play, the philosophy,
the basics,
all through the clubs
Pep's
that we've got, they're there and installed them already. So that's possibly made it a lot easier for him to come in pre-season, knowing the sort of style of football and knowing what's needed, knowing what's demanded of you.
Yeah, of course. You forget, of course, that actually it's very similar to the way we play over there. I also love it where we get to see him live. He's not shy as well of really encouraging the crowd and other players around him to get going, which for a young lad having been here only a couple of months, you'd love to see. Let's move to the midfield, because of course every City fan gutted to see Kevin De Bruyne pick up that slight knock. Pep was keeping us guessing whether he'd be in the team or even in the squad. Sadly, not fit enough to make the bench either. We do have, though, Bernardo Silva, Ilkay Gundogan and Rodri, which I guess controlling the game today, them three are going to be key now.
Well, it's a winning formula in the past,
and
to see Gundogan back and in control and doing what he's going to have to do today, it's quite incredible when you think, a year ago you were saying, wasn't that great, all the best. Again, don't ever second guess Pep on things like this, and Rodri has just been a shining example of what a leader and what the old number 6, as we used to call him, that player that controls everything. Mind you, Rice will try and do the same thing, on the opposition, and that they're equally matched. I think they're both very, very good players. In fact, best number 6s in the world in my mind. But there's something about, I suppose, Man City being at home. The diamond, if you like, the three that you mentioned, they know their stuff inside out. It's a tougher ask for the Arsenal players to contain that. And if they get going, and it looks like, the rain here in Manchester might actually help the way City play. The pitch will be a little bit greasier. They'll knock it around. But that's a key part of the game. There's no doubt about that. And Rice v Rodri, let's talk about it afterwards and see which one stood up to it better. Yeah.
I wondered as well, and listen, I loved it. I think in the Milan game, Brentford game as well, it was obviously Rodri, De Bruyne and Gundogan. Having Bernardo in there, obviously, I think just gives us a little bit of extra legs. So does that kind of maybe complement Gundogan a little bit more, do you think?
I think so, but I think the three of them, I know we're talking about Rodri's probably the best number 6 in the world, but the last season or so, he has been pushing further forward. You know, especially when Kovacic has been in the team, because he knows he's got the security of one of them and sitting in there. And it's the same with Ilkay. You know, if Rodri does want to step forward, Ilkay with his experience and his football knowledge will just sit in there. But on the flip side, you know, Ilkay's got a goal in him, you know, from midfield. Yeah. You know, we've seen it so unlucky the other night there, and he does that third-man run from midfield. Because Arsenal, fantastic team, but I can't imagine they're going to do anything different than what they did here last season, where they sit in with their back four, low block, and then look to try and hit us in the break. And sometimes Ilkay, with his little runs in between full-backs and centre-halves, he's very difficult to pick up.
Of course, we're going to be trying to get the big man on the ball. He's already been highlighted by Arteta, obviously. It's not just usually going to put one man on Haaland. It's looking like it will be Gabriel and Saliba if they start. We'll bring you team news from Arsenal in just a moment. But now, obviously, position you know. First of all, just your thoughts on the big man. And I mean, to see his game, it seems to have almost gone to another level this season.
Yeah, he's incredible. He just doesn't need much of a sniff at all to carve out something. His all-round game is terrific. But then you look afterwards and you look at the number of touches he had in the game, and you think, my God, did he not take part at all, or how did it all work? Did he just get the shots on goal? But that's the way they play, and he's ready to pounce at all times. He's looking and seeing the opportunities. Now, he might look as if he's got, you know, his arms by his side and he's walking out, but he's ready to go, and he's such a handful. I think, going back, you see that I might know what the big man's like, it's totally different. You know, I would have 20 touches in a game with no goal because I'd have headed 12 out in my own box, ran up to head a few more. The whole game is totally different to when I played, and that's why I have a brilliant respect for what he does. And you know, the old adage in our day used to be, have a few shots, one will come off for you. His comes off every time. You know, it's just incredible. And I salute him. I can do nothing but salute him. And he's playing a type of football that, I mean, like even the knowledge to bump and get that, like that's a real craft what he just did there. If he saw that ball, we go, okay, he's strong and he's powerful and he's hard to stop. But that little bump at the right time where it's not a foul, it's just watch it here. He sees a little look where he is, bump, there you go, that's me. Referee can't see it. Arguably a foul nowadays, wouldn't have been in my day, but just the way he was able to do that, that's a long ball, a hopeful ball, in a team of Pep Guardiola's that is renowned for passing and passing and passing, and suddenly to make a breakthrough they do that. And he's capable of doing it. Don't ever say it's going to be 0-0 when he's around.
The thing that's impressed me the most about him this season, I know we're only 5 league games in, is his hold-up play.
Agree. Yeah.
It's been so much better, and I know it's something he's been working on, something he wanted to do last season, but the extra stuff after training, because he was carrying niggles more or less every single week, but he's had a fresh break in the summer, and he's been super impressive, because last season before, he was scoring all these goals, but sometimes the balls would be bouncing off him. He'd be trying to lay it off one touch and giving it away, but now he's getting his body into people, he's getting hold of the ball, and his all-round game's come on a ton already. Yeah,
and it allows him to be more involved in the build-up, which we know Pep was obviously keen to have him a little bit more involved, but obviously the most important thing is he scored goals. Paul, you pointed out something last week, and now I wanted to ask you, how difficult is it, because Paul pointed out that he sets himself for whatever shot he wants to take almost perfectly every time. And since you've said it, watching games at the weekend, watching strikers sometimes they're like half set or they're swinging at it. Yeah. You never see Haaland do that. Has he worked on that, or is that just like instinct and technique?
I think there's a gift in there too. He has extraordinary balance when it comes to opportunities coming their way. You often see players falling over as they're about to hit that little glimpse of a chance comes. But the glimpse of chance comes for him, and he always seemed to have his body perfectly aligned to the very least get a shot away. Generally speaking, that's really hard to defend anyway. So, you know, when you're a defender trying to stop all that, and you know the slightest glimpse of a chance, he's coming in at it. It puts you on edge, and he works on that, and he knows something is going to happen for him. He's got a great faith in what he does, you know. And he doesn't need to be laying a lot of balls up, but you're right, he has got better at that this season. He's coming into the game more. He's taking a few more touches in 90 minutes. And I think he's invaluable. You know, you look at him, Harry Kane, for instance. I know his side didn't win the league last year, but you know, to win the European Golden Boot, to have that hold-up play, they're two exceptional players in this generation to come along. In the last sort of wave of players, okay, you have your Ronaldo and your Messi, and they'll go on. Their fame will go on forever. But the game has changed more, and the focus on there's the false number 9, there's the old number 9. There's so many different things they call. But to be masters of their craft, the way him and Kane are, the way Haaland and Kane are. I think it's something for me particularly, and you probably as well as strike ball. I just really admire what they do. It's so tough in the modern game. They're coming up against fitter, sharper, harder players. Rules don't really suit the strikers anymore the way they used to, and they do an exceptional job. And Kane's not here today, but Haaland is just extraordinary. I'm blown away by him.
Yeah, I think we all are. I mean, I run out of adjectives to
He's different
describe
type
it.
of finishes as well.
Yeah, he can do everything. Yeah,
the one Brentford, the first one, his right foot, he doesn't even think about it. No backlift gone through in the goal. 9 times out of 10 he opens his body out and slides it down, but now he's got that little dink in the bag, so he's always asking questions, not just defenders, the goalkeepers as well.
They've got a great defensive record, Arsenal. I think a lot over this kind of all of last season and coming into this one, particularly away from home as well. So Paul, obviously we've got the big man, but naturally maybe two defenders leave space for others. But how can our attacking game penetrate this very solid Arsenal defence?
It's just got to be patient. I think it's not the first time, it won't be the last time City will come up against a team that's going to defend with a low block and look to hit them in the break. And Arsenal got some wonderful players, but I'm sure we'll see the same again today. And they had a perfect test Wednesday night against Inter Milan. Who I thought were outstanding without the ball. And eventually, I know it ended up 0-0, but we did create a few chances to get it, so we're just going to have to be patient, move the ball quickly as well.
Yeah, I always find in these games where a team like Arsenal can come and do that and are very good at it, generally takes 60, 70 minutes before you've really got to grips with it all and you start to carve out chances. A bit like here during the week, in the game. It'll take a little bit longer. The days of coming here and thinking, okay, City are going to score in the first 10, 15 minutes, that's normal against what you'd call weaker opposition, but they're playing the very best. They're playing against the pretenders to the throne today, and they deserve to have that title. And they may even go and do it. Who knows? I don't want to go that far now in this conversation. But what I do know is Man City are always up for a game like this. And it'll really test Arsenal and that great defence, that record, as you say, they've had. And I believe, obviously, with Arteta, they've started to learn how to play against Man City, because I remember a couple of years ago, I went down to London. It was a big one for the league. It was about February, March time, and this was going to be, this, and Man City absolutely wiped them away. Wiped them off the bar. I thought, wow, they've got so much to catch up on to ever challenge. But in fairness to them, they've started to get better and get stronger as a unit. Rice is a big help since those days in front, but the guys at the back have been superb as well, and it's a big test for all today. It's a fascinating game. I really hope it doesn't stick in that 0-0 and everybody comes away like, oh gosh, it was too tense, it was too tight. But there's enough brilliance on that pitch, particularly wearing blue jerseys, to make sure there's a goal got at some stage.
Yeah.
Big goal if it does.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll give us lots to talk about as well. What a start to the show. We've got guests coming thick and fast throughout as well, so don't go anywhere. Let's begin though by getting the thoughts of Andy Morrison, who's with FG.
Yes, thank you very much, Kel. First things first, we've just seen the Manchester City team. Let's start then. Should we start with the wingers, shall we? We'll start from the forward line. No Jack Grealish. Jeremy Doku's in. It looks like he's gone well, but he has gone with Jeremy Doku and Savinho. Why do you think he's done that?
I think it's quite clear for me personally. The last two games against them, the turnover in possession on the transition has been the only time the game's been open. They recover very, very quickly, and we need to exploit that space initially on that turnover. And I think with the pace of both players, with Jack and perhaps Bernardo, it might be slightly slower and then build up play, but you can't build up play against this unit that is Arsenal at the minute in time. So I think they'll be at their weakest on the turnover possession, and we've got pace to exploit that.
How much would the game against Inter Milan have helped in this preparation, playing against a low block? We sort of had a similar problem against Arsenal at the Etihad last season. Will Pep be looking at that and be like, you know what, perfect time to play against a team like that? We can learn in time for this fixture.
I think such as the quality of both teams, I think they come with different problems that they're gonna cause City, and I don't see the similarities in the team. It was a back five, this is a back four, and structured differently and different personnel as well. In Barella, I don't believe they got a Barella. Maybe with Odegaard in the midfield, Odegaard, I think they've got quality there, but Barella was a special player.
I know that our club captain, Kyle Walker, is back in the starting lineup. Not really much of a surprise when you look at the pace of potentially, the likes of Martinelli, who will have the Arsenal team for you in a second. But yeah, Kyle Walker's experience in a game like this super important.
Absolutely, and as you know, we're always pointing out the obvious, don't we? It's his pace, and you know, Martinelli is one of the quickest wide men in the league. So you know, Kyle can go toe to toe with anyone in that foot race, and we know that you know, he'll come out on top.
Yeah, it's absolutely great to see him back in the starting lineup. Unfortunately, Kevin De Bruyne didn't make it. He's not in the squad. Pep's gone with Rodri, Gundogan and Bernardo in midfield. It seems, looking at it from a fan's perspective, it's a midfield which has a lot of control, like to keep the ball a lot, keep the ball moving, and of course, they have that defensive awareness. Gundogan has that as well when the wingers are doing their thing, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, you're losing De Bruyne's inventiveness and quality at the final moment, in the final third. He's the best player in the Premier League, you know, at finding that pass and opening up the opposition. But they have different qualities in there, and I'm sure Bernardo will recycle the ball, and Gundogan will probably play a bit higher up the pitch. He also has that ability to find that special pass.
Yeah, and of course the ability to arrive into the box, which we saw so much against Inter Milan. Let's reveal to you then the Arsenal team news for this afternoon's fixture. In goal is Raya, and then it is Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Partey, Rice, Bukayo Saka, who's the captain this afternoon, Trossard, Martinelli and Kai Havertz. Now, looking at that team, Andy, the substitutes are on the screen for you. We look at Partey and Rice, that is two defensive midfield players, not really much of a surprise, and it sort of gives away the way Arsenal are probably going to set up in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think there's a surprise for us, actually. I really would, because the last two games really have been, the teams have nullified each other, maybe 3 or 4 clear chances over 180 minutes, and that's not what the two teams are about, especially Manchester City. And I think Arsenal against any other team would be thinking, how can we win this game? Whereas this game, they're thinking, how we must make sure we don't lose the game. So let's hope they've got something up their sleeve, that we're not just going to see a deep block, you know, park the bus and for City to try and break it down. Because, like I say, last year, I thought it was unfair on both teams, really, in the way the games went.
Do you think if Odegaard was fit, they might have set up perhaps differently and maybe taken Partey out of that for Rice, or do you think they were always going to go with the two other midfielders?
No, I think Odegaard, if he's fit, I think he plays, because, you know, he's a special player. He starts the press. He's exceptional at reading of the game, and everybody else follows him. So I'm not sure who will try and press us, if anybody does today, whether they just go straight into a deep block. But no, he's a massive miss for Arsenal, because, you know, up there with De Bruyne, for me, he's one of the most inventive players in the Premier League.
Let's talk about Arsenal and their set pieces then, shall we? A lot of people do it. Of course, it's only right that we speak about it too. They've got a fantastic record from set pieces, and I imagine Arteta will be itching to get a couple of set pieces, which they've, of course, probably been practicing, because they've got the likes of Saliba and Gabriel, who are so good, not just at defending, but also attacking from corners.
Yeah, very, very dangerous. And, you know, City will have to play and limit, you know, as many, you know, as least corners as possible, because you know, they've shown over, I think, the last 2 or 3 seasons that they're the best, you know, at attacking. But you know, we set up really well, and we got some strong players in there. You know, Akanji, Walker, Haaland, you know, Rodri, Gvardiol. They can all head a ball, and it's all about, for me, protecting the springers and making sure that you stop the third step. Because when Saliba, when Partey, when they get that third step and climb, then you're in trouble. So you must stop the third step, and that's a key part for them today.
Well, it's going to be an absolutely fascinating game. We've actually got a fascinating studio as well. Andy Morrison's got his new jacket. Paul Dickov is in the studio. Paul, are you wearing the kit?
Paul, you wearing a kit?
I couldn't possibly say that. I've never had it off.
He's too smart, do you know what I mean? Listen, he's got other jobs as well to do around this stadium, FG, do you know what I mean? Thank you, though, Andy Morrison there, also for bringing us the Arsenal starting 11. Niall, what were your first thoughts upon seeing that starting Arsenal team?
Obviously White was left out, which is interesting, so that maybe looking at second guessing maybe what Pep's trying to do and finding another way of handling it. So that'll be an interesting part of Calafiori coming in and seeing how he steps up to it or not. Where does Partey play? Rice, we kind of know where he's going to play. You know, is it wing backs, or will they try a 4? Just leaves us open to more debate. I think that's what the team sheet kind of does at this time before game, and lots of things going through the mind. But Mikel will have a fair idea about what's coming at him, and I think he's obviously picked, in his mind, the most solid response to what Man City are capable of doing. And so don't be surprised if it's a 5, I think, would you? You know?
It's interesting. If it was, I mean, potentially a 5, then what would that do for Arsenal? Is that to give them more stability at the back and maybe hit us more on the counter, Paul? If that was, what would be the thinking there?
I think so, and it'll be interesting to see how the wing-backs are. Probably looking to maybe get a little bit more width in the team as well. But Calafiore the other night in the Atalanta game, when he came on, although he came on as sort of left-back, he was playing that inverted full-back role to try and make an extra number in midfield. So maybe that's something about it. Look, we're second-guessing 2 top managers here, and whatever we say, it'll probably be something different by the time,
of course,
the time they get out there as well. But it's a big decision from Mikel, because Ben White's been sort of his go-to, isn't he? He's been so consistent for him, so good. So a big call and a big game to bring Calafiore. Is he full debut? First time he started?
I think
it's his first starting game. Yeah. I think he's been sub a lot, hasn't he?
I don't know if you've ever recalled or like maybe something like that happening, being brought in for such a big game. Is there not a pressure there? I mean, obviously, Mikel must trust him.
Well, I think one of the great marvels of the modern game is that young players seem to just come in now and they breeze into it. I think they're saying that there's no scars on them when they just come in, because they don't know about the highs and lows of the game. They just go in and play. And I'm just amazed. Like, you know what it was like in our time way back, Paul, at Arsenal. Like, you're 17, 18, you're afraid to look at the first team, never mind being in one of the guys and sort of fit in, and obviously he does. He's made great waves, obviously, down there, and he's trusted to go in and do this today. I'm not surprised. I think, looking back on our day, it's mad to think, that you don't have 35-year-olds in the team and 32-year-olds in the experience. Do you remember that? That was the big thing. Yeah. 32. We got a 32-year-old who'd be great for a couple of years. Getting him in, all this thing, building, and it was so hard for a 17, 18-year-old to get looked at.
Yeah.
And now with the talent, the way that's coming through, the way the academies are all functioning, it's all geared up to getting players by 18 years of age. They're bursting for it.
They're ready for it as well.
They're ready for it, and it's an incredible dynamic change from our time in the Premier League, like back when.
They prepare players from a young age for it now, whereas it was sink or swim, wasn't it?
I can remember being afraid to go into the first team dressing room. Oh my God, I don't want to see any of them guys. Don't know. It was just, that's the way we were kind of controlled that way. Yeah. But now, and I think you can see the benefits of it. The English national team with all those young players, that have come through under Gareth over the last number of years. It's phenomenal. I think it's one of the great things about the Premier League. That it's brought. There's a system in place now where clubs are bringing through fantastic players who at 17, 18 and 19 are ready to play on the top stage, and it's hard work to do that, but the hard work has been put in by clubs, and it's the best league in the world for the stars it attracted one time. Now it's the stars it's creating.
That is bringing through. Moving into the midfield, and Andy touched upon it, he was behind most City players. My favourite player last season was Martin Odegaard. I really don't think you can understate, how beautiful of a footballer he is. Technically, his brain, but not starting today. Big loss for Arsenal, you'd say, Paul.
Big influence on the team as well, and how they want to play. Fantastically talented player who makes them tick. They probably, and they won't be as creative without him in the team. I think we've seen that the last couple of games with Arsenal. Went to Tottenham and won the set piece, midweek, the 0-0. So they weren't creating a lot of chances without Odegaard in the team as much as they've done okay without him out there. And
sometimes
in the big game, it's that little bit of magic that can make the difference, and it's the magic that he's got.
Yeah, and you mentioned something very important: their set pieces. Yeah. Because Arsenal come back to the old tradition of Bowles, Adams, Keown. They're flicking on near post corners and had this great way of scoring set pieces. Arsenal have started to do it again, and they've a great technique. They have a great plan around their set pieces, and they look dangerous. So that's going to be something I think that City will have to look out for today. And of course, Pep will have his work done. But you would think that Arsenal will fancy a bit of joy that way, wouldn't you?
It's interesting what the Atalanta manager after the game said. Before, obviously tactical playing against Arsenal, but they tried to restrict as many set pieces as they had, if it meant just putting the ball out for a throw-in and taking a risk from doing it. And I think Arsenal had 2 corners the other night there in the whole game, which was the lowest that they've had. Wow. They're a huge threat from it. So set pieces, we're going to, I know Andy was saying, with Saliba, with Gabriel, all these fantastic players. They've got attacking the ball. We've got to get hold of them as well, haven't you, and get up against them.
Yeah,
and stop them heading the ball. But set pieces are going to be huge again today.
Slightly frustrating as well, because I believe their set piece coach used to be our set piece coach.
Yeah, he's still not as good as the one we've got now.
No, that's true. No, that's true. Also, I mean, we've spoke about how brilliant Arsenal have been defensively, but going forward as well. I mean, Havertz played in that deep role against Atlanta, didn't quite work as well for him, but great start to the season. And then, of course, with Martinelli and, of course, Trossard and Saka as well, pose a massive threat.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be aiming for the counter, and what does City need to do to stop it?
Very exciting players you mentioned there on paper, and in a normal sort of away game they can sort of think about all the attacking sort of options that they can provide, but there's a definite sort of I suppose they have to gain the right to do that here today first, and that's going to be really, really difficult for them. But just go back, Havertz, who you mentioned, first of all, like, he looks happier in what he's doing at Arsenal. Now, I kind of said it a few moments ago that you got to feel it right and you come into a team. He probably, had the weight of his shoulders on for the last couple of seasons, big expectations, club weren't going well, and it's like he's come in and there's a breath of fresh air now where he is at Arsenal, and he's fitting into the role really well. They're all getting to know each other as things go along. They don't have a Haaland, right? So there's no point trying to compare that side of things. But what they have, and you mentioned it, is they have an ability in there to create something out of nothing, and I think on the break is their sort of big chance today, and how Havertz links in and lines up with that, and that falls number 9, drops deep. When does he come? How much can they support him? Can Saka on that get up to him as early as possible? Can they get the type of ball in to threaten Man City? I think that's their A game. If they're playing an A game, they'll get that to happen. They might get a few set pieces, and generally speaking, they'll be very hard to break down. So that's why they're knocking on the door to be a title winner, to take on Man City. But Man City, time and time again, over the last number of years, they come back and answer those questions. So it's terrifically set up today.
I think a lot of people making a big thing about the false number 9. I think 2 seasons ago, Arsenal broke the record for Premier League goals, the most that was scored, and they beat that again last season.
Yes.
So it sort of shows you that there is a method in the madness of what Mikel's trying to do there. And they can score goals from anywhere. Saka, Martinelli, Trossard. They don't just rely on the out-and-out striker or Havertz that they've got. But Havertz has been fantastic. It's got good management, and having good teammates around you as well. It looks as if he's come in, and Niall said there, just a massive weight off his shoulders, and he's really enjoying his football. And he's a completely different player from the one he was at Chelsea. He's a lot more. He used to drift in and out of games at Chelsea. Now he's a lot more physical. He's upsetting defenders. He's backing in. He's winning his headers, and he's getting a lot of goals as well.
But I don't think it ever changes. You can go at whatever level, but when you're playing for a coach who fills you with confidence, you just, like, I can remember I came here to this club many years ago. Things hadn't worked out for me at Arsenal. I was out of the team for a long time and thought the world was against me. And Howard Kendall was the manager when I came here, and he made me feel $1 million, and I went from a guy who couldn't get a game down in London to suddenly, I was scoring 20-odd goals a year, and I know I didn't do anything different. I didn't suddenly discover a new talent, but it was confidence. And I look at it now, and I'll never forget that, because it was a huge part of my career that I was able to do that. Because if it didn't work out for me, I was gone, because I'd come off a bad 3 years. And what the coach did for me, known as a manager then, they didn't call him the head coach, but what he did for me as a player, as a person. You can't chalk up and measure that on stats.
Nah.
You can't do that, but it is huge. And I look at when you get very good, like Pep Guardiola has, you can also have a go back at them and challenge them publicly, and you can do different things when they get to a certain level. And Pep does that brilliantly. But in order to get there, like, Havertz is coming from a low base at Chelsea. It was a signing that surprised a few people, saying, "Oh God, he sees something in him." But Arteta seems now to have given him that lease of life, that confidence boost that is making him play to his best ability. I actually like watching him play. He's got great abilities.
Agreed, and I think we all know from his time here at City, as well as a coach, second to none, and it's no surprise to see what he's done with the squad and with players individually. I say this hesitantly, but it has to be said because it's in the vein of the conversation. Of course, Raheem Sterling, very similar, going from Chelsea, probably not had the best season that he wanted, feels a little bit low on confidence. Now comes to this Arsenal side with a manager like Mikel, who also I know worked very closely with him when Raheem was at City. obviously on the bench today, but it feels like it could be a new lease of life for him as well.
It is, and it's man management. I think that's the one thing that's not changed. So people are saying players are more difficult now and everything else, but you know, you've got to manage every player as individuals and manage them differently, and then integrate them into the team. And you know, it's no secret that Raheem and Mikel had a fantastic relationship here, and maybe there was 3 or 4 clubs in for Raheem that he could have went to. That Mikel, the relationship they've got was that factor. And you know, people are just still only 29, isn't he? Raheem?
Yeah.
You know, so he's got so many fantastic years ahead of him to come.
Yeah, and if he's in the right frame of mind to go and get into this side at Arsenal and to contribute the way he's capable of contributing, he's got a manager who's encouraging him to do it, because he's faced a lot of criticism. You know, here we are seeing some brilliant play, but he has faced some criticism. His time at Chelsea has been, I would say, pretty disastrous.
Yes.
For a man of that talent.
Agreed.
And everything that
Probably
he's achieved.
through no fault of his own. The club's getting run, you know.
Yeah, a lot of the time it was, it wasn't run to suit him anyway. Let's be kind to those who run Chelsea. But the difference that you'll see in a Raheem Sterling that gets, you know, his chest out and the confidence going. You know, go back to the man management side of it. He may come back to haunt.
Yeah, I know.
That's
why I say it very hesitantly.
Very hesitantly. But he's been a player I've loved watching play from his time at Liverpool way back. He brings something different to the party. He really does.
And it was fantastic here.
Yeah, and Pep always points that out as well.
You know, I think a lot of people forget just how good he was over a long period of time as well.
Speaking of players that have played for both, lovely segue, thank you very much. Let's remind ourselves of an infamous celebration that happened 15 years ago, can you believe? None other than that iconic full pitch run from Emmanuel Adebayor when he scored against Arsenal. Cannot believe that has been 15 years. So we caught up with some City fans to relive that memory and enjoy some other of their favourite celebrations.
Well, that is the moment that he has dreamt about.
Just like something I'd never seen before. It was like the sort of thing you do in the garden. Like, it was ridiculous. It was incredible, and we'd never really seen anyone do a celebration like that before, so it was quite unique as well.
An Emmanuel Adebayor goal against Arsenal.
I feel like that was probably the start of the rivalry between City and Arsenal, because of course before that City weren't really doing too much in terms of challenging, and we'd started buying some players from Arsenal, and you just felt that if we could get a result over them, that could sort of announce ourselves as one of these big teams, or we could really go and compete. I felt like, you know, that was a big day. I really think, looking back at the sort of last 15 years, that was one of the biggest days, I think, in terms of announcing ourselves as a club in this league.
Adebayor had started the season really well, if I remember rightly. I think we went to Blackburn on the first game of the season. He put the ball in the net and the crowd went mad, and he just seemed to jog. And then he picked up a bit of pace, and then it was almost like he'd had an injection of adrenaline, and he just ran and ran. He accelerated, and he was like Usain Bolt. He shot down the other end, he slid on his knees. There was all sorts of stuff being thrown, and there was even a kid's chair thrown in the air at one point.
As my dad said, he just got faster and faster and faster. Knee slid in front of the Arsenal fans, and just like something I'd never seen before. It was like the sort of thing you do in the garden. Like, it was ridiculous. Yeah. I didn't really know what was going on as like a 6-7-year-old. You know, you're celebrating with people that you don't know, and everyone's going crazy. And then you look back at the pitch, and all of a sudden, you just see him sprinting, and you're going, where's he going? And he keeps on going, and he keeps on going, and then you think, oh, I see what's happening here. He's running to the away fans, and then I just started laughing because I knew that he was just going to rattle the Arsenal fans. And then he's there, he celebrates on his knees in front of the Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans are kicking off.
And fair play to him, you know, to be honest with you. But they got all a bit upset about it after the event, but it's a passionate game. Look, the guy's just scored against a club that rejected him for his new club.
We were all singing about him.
Yeah, they're singing about him. Our fans loved him because he started off so well and he was a proper player.
I quite like it. I think it shows a lot of character in a big game as well. You don't want to just... Sometimes you want to see a bit of that in a big game.
And we thought it was great, and to see him celebrate like that, you know, I like that.
Adebayor's celebration wasn't just Adebayor versus Arsenal, Adebayor versus the Arsenal fans. It was City. We are here. You know, we're not going to be messed around. We are a club that is going to take this league seriously. And I think Adebayor's celebration summed up City's stance in this league.
And he sets off to celebrate like never before.
That's definitely a memory that will last long in all City fans' minds, especially if you were here in the stadium and were lucky enough to see, which I was with my dad and brother. Unbelievable scenes. Now, we've got a competition for you. When you watch Match Day live, of course, we want to give you some little treats. This is no different. You'll see it's quite... it's funny seeing you hold this brand new away shirt here. It's signed by Paul Dickov, the man himself. And, of course, the shirt which is synonymous with yourself, Paul. All you need to go is to mancity.com/MDL comp. Details on there how you can enter, and one of you will be very lucky to win that signed shirt. Now, in June, we lost one of the all-time Premier League greats in the form of Kevin Campbell. Also, he had appeared on Match Day Live, and we just wanted to take a moment to show our appreciation and love for him, a player I know that you both knew. Paul, could you just talk us through what he was like?
I just had a little shiver through me there. He was just a wonderful, wonderful character. And I wasn't, when I was a young kid in the youth team at Arsenal, Kevin was a couple of years older than me, and obviously went to the youth team, into the reserves, and in the first team, and he looked after me so well. He really went out of his way to make sure I was okay in my digs, and take me out for dinner, take me out to other places as well at the same time. Don't worry about that. It's used to happen. But he was just a wonderful man, smiling. He would light up at any room he walked into, always happy. You'd never seen him down, just now.
No,
so,
he was incredible. He brought great humanity into a dressing room. He would spot the player that wasn't going so well, head would be down a little bit, and you go, hey, what's up with you? Come on, man, get a smile on your face. I can still see him doing that now. And he used to call me Mighty. That was his name. Hey, Mighty, how you doing? And he used to sing that song, The Mighty Quinn, to cheer me up. I'm slumping in the reserves, come on, big man. He was just lovely to be around. We had a bit of a reunion there a couple of years ago, and I spent the rest of the evening afterwards with him. Like you said, he didn't go home early. And just to spend some time with them there, I cherish it now looking back, because you go and you don't see each other for long periods of time, And I know my son was with me at that particular event, and he was just blown away by Kevin Campbell, the man.
Yeah, yes.
Not the footballer. And he, of course, he did great football as well. Of course he did. But hugely missed his as you say, he'd come in here now, everybody would smile, everybody would light up, wouldn't they? And so it's so hard to think that he's not here at such a young age. It's terrible.
Of course, we're sending all our love and condolences to his family, and will be ever remembered. Now, let's catch up with a player who has also played for both teams in the form of Colo Touré. Now, of course, works in our academy. FG caught up with him a little bit before now to get his thoughts ahead of the game.
Yes, thank you very much, Kel. As you can see, it's with great pleasure to say I am joined by a man who's represented and captained both Arsenal and Manchester City, Colo Touré. Colo, how you doing?
I'm fine.
First things first, academy role. How is that going here?
I love it.
So tell us a little bit more about the role. What can people expect to see with you in that role?
I'm just the assistant coach of the under-18 lead coach. And my job is to coach the players, of course, and pass them my experience as a player, but also as a coach as well, because I've been coaching for quite a long time now, 5-6 years now. And I'm really enjoying it. We have a really good squad of players, really talented young players, and I'm there to just help them develop themselves, make them better. That's the most important for me.
Do you see similarity between some of these younger kids in the academy to what you were when you were coming through the ranks?
Absolutely, because I'm thinking like this opportunity for me is to just really use my experience, because as a young player, I remember back in the days, it was not easy. I needed people to help me, and I needed advice from coaches, and I'm thinking that I am in the position to give them the advice they need. Sometimes is to just tell them some few story about my career, but sometimes it's about as well push them, raise the standard. And I really love it. Because I think that if you are lucky enough to have good coach around you, that will help you to make a better career.
Well, it's absolutely great to see someone like yourself through the club. Let's talk about the game today then. Of course, you've represented both clubs. We know how much love you've got for both clubs. Captained them both. Both sets of fans love you. How do you see the game going?
For me, I'm here to enjoy football. I'm here to see two fantastic clubs with unbelievable players. But most formal, I would say, fantastic managers. And of course, Pep Guardiola is the master of the game, of course. And for me, Arteta has been really lucky, and I will say, to be able to work with Pep and learn a lot from him as well. Of course, I know Arteta have his experience as well, but I think it's always great to work with Pep Guardiola because you can learn a lot, and you can see how many coaches he has developed. A lot of players that played with him are becoming managers, and that tells something, you know. But looking for an amazing game, just want to enjoy watching that game, goals, everything.
Do you think you're going to be watching the two teams that will finish in the top two in the Premier League this year, in no particular order, of course?
Yes, I think so. I think so, because the football they play is incredible. Technically, tactically, they're unbelievable. They both have unbelievable squads, and I think that they produce the best football of the world, I feel.
Well, listen, Colo, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Before we go, I think the people watching on Matchday Live, and me included, want to know, might we see Colo Touré potentially as a manager again soon, or working under Pep Guardiola or something like that?
You know, for me, I just want to enjoy the moment, and I'm working with City. What an opportunity, working with fantastic young players, fantastic club. And I'm so happy to be back home, I will say. And, I'm very lucky to be able to watch some of Pep Guardiola trainings. And I think I learned so much from that. And that, for me, is a lot.
Well, listen, we can't wait to continue watching you, hopefully be as successful as a coach or a manager as you were in your career. Colo, thanks for joining us. Let's head back to Kel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colo. Thank you, FG. More from FG as well with some other guests later on, so don't go anywhere. And you'll see we're live from the Etihad behind us. The players are now out on the pitch warming up for both teams. We have got just over 30 minutes till kickoff. But if you've just joined us, welcome along. Making his Matchday Live debut is Manchester City legend and, of course, as well, Arsenal player Niall Quinn. And we just want to take a moment now to dig into a little bit of your time in your career, beginning at Arsenal, much like you, Paul, kind of came through the ranks there. What was it like to learn your trade at Arsenal, particularly at that time?
Well, it was kind of a bit scary for me because I'd given up the idea of being a footballer because Fulham, who were in the third division, had said no, I had no chance about a year earlier. So I went and trialled to Arsenal and they gave me a 3-year contract. So it's all a bit strange. And it just went that way. I played in the youth team under Pat Rice, who Paul would have as well, and got the Arsenal way into your genes almost. And remember who you are, where you are, whom you represent. All these things were pushed into us as young players, and we strived to get better and better. And I got into the reserves, and then I got into the first team. I got into the first team because of bad form, and they'd been thrashed at Everton, and the manager went mad and picked me up front, and I scored after 20 minutes, and then you got a career then. It's amazing. Luck has so much to do with it. I was meant to go on loan to Port Vale on the Friday, but they stopped me going and said, you go Monday. And then they put me in, and I scored, and the next week I was playing at Old Trafford, and we won there as well.
Wow.
So very extraordinary time when I look back, and a great club, and I say it to a lot of people, I kind of learned my trade there. It's the way I look at it. Would you?
100%.
Yeah, the club was good in making you a football person, and the values that you should have as a footballer. Now I know we all stepped over the line a bit and did things we maybe shouldn't have done in those days. Cultures were different, but it was. It didn't end the best for me because a fellow called Alan Smith came along, who was a great player, never got booked, never got injured, and I sat in the dog. There was only 1-2 subs at the time as well. It wasn't like you'd get game time.
Okay.
So the call came from Man City. Howard Kendall called. I came up here, and life changed for me again. So.
I wanted to ask you that because there's a quote in your book which is that learned my trade at Arsenal, then became a footballer at Manchester City. So could you elaborate a bit more on that?
I thrived, As I said, Howard Kendall was the person who made me feel that I could be a top footballer at the top league, that I could, stay on the same stage. Now, whether I was or not is another thing, but he made me feel I was, I guess he told me, play with your feet. We're not just going to whack the ball up to your head. You've got good feet. We're going to make the best out of you. And I used to practice every day, like you'll probably show headers here now, I'm sure, but oh no, maybe not. Haaland would have been proud of that one now, wouldn't he? Swivel there. We were just talking about it all earlier. But I just got a smile on my face playing football. The game became easier for me playing with Manchester City. I had Nicky Summerby putting balls in, left, right and centre, you know, learning to follow up. Pat Rice used to say that, follow up, you never know, you get lucky, always follow in. The different things that happened in my career. I fought hard for my career, I worked very hard, but there was a spell at Manchester City when it was easy. Yeah. You know, and I can remember scoring a goal at Luton away. And I even said to myself, how did I score that? I would never have scored that at Arsenal, you know. But again, it goes back to this confidence thing. And it felt really good because I joined the club. They had just been promoted. And Harold Kendall came in when they were bottom of the table. There wasn't that many games to go. And I was desperate to go because I wanted to go to the World Cup in 1990. So this was in March 1990. And we scored a few goals and we stayed up comfortably. And I went away to the World Cup. And the next season started. And it was such a different time for me. For 3 years at Arsenal, that would be reserve games, not getting a look in. And then suddenly I'm in all the papers, you know, and you're up here. And Howard was great at keeping you level as well, like, you know. And I scored 22 goals that year, you know, and I'll never forget it. It was a great time. And we finished 5th, having just been promoted the year before and literally stayed up just about, and then got to 5th. We got to 5th the next year, and I felt we were close, you know. We were really close as a club. United started winning things. That didn't help in the city, caused tension. And I do think, as I developed more into a target player then and understood my role more, injuries stopped me, I think, from maintaining that kind of form and getting to the next level. And also, there was talk of us signing Ian Wright at one stage. And from Crystal Palace, he was coming, and he was going to be a great goal scorer. Well, he signed for Arsenal instead. Yeah. So when I look back, there was a few near misses that could have made it better. But then the cruciate injury came along, form dipped, new managers come in, you know, and I'm not happy about how it ended for me here at Manchester City. I love coming back. I had a great time when I was here, bar the last sort of 6-8 weeks, and I tend not to think about the bad side. I always try to think of the good times out here. It was the most amazing time, and as I say, I think you read it there, it made a footballer out of me.
Amazing. Was there any, speaking of the positive things, any standout moments for you in a City shirt?
I can remember backheeling one that was going out of play, and Georgie knocked it in for his first ever goal for the club, and the fans started calling me Quinninho, you know, because I'd done a bit of a flick that they weren't expecting, you know. And to this day, like even an older fan outside, hey, Quinninho, you know, and I was going, yeah, he knows, you know. He knows. But yeah, my confidence levels were big here for the first few years. Peter Reid was good for me after Harold Kendall. Brian Horton took over a side that was just starting to struggle. Alan Ball then couldn't quite bring the magic to him to us that we thought he would, and I was gone. But you know, I'd had a cruciate injury by then. Looked like my career was up, but I got an Indian summer up at Sunderland, so I'm very lucky, and this was an amazing, important part of it, and all my best stats are here.
We were doing some digging as well, and am I right in saying in our research, and if not, I'm blaming the production team behind the camera, but
I wouldn't trust the research.
But saved a penalty against Derby.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Oh,
I remember Dean Saunders, was it?
Dean Saunders,
he doesn't talk about that in his stories.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't tell many podcast stories about that. Yeah, no, I'd scored after 20 minutes, and no, I always fancied being in goal. And this was the first year that you could get sent off pretty easily compared to the old days. So there's Tony Coton taking down Dean Saunders. Now, you know, there's a funny bit here, which I don't know if it's still there. He gets his gloves and throws them at the referee, right? You don't see it now. So Adrian Heath has just told him he's going to save this. He does it all the time in training, which I did. And Adrian Heath whispered in his ear, and you can see Dean Saunders laughing. Now, it's a lovely thing to do. Two things. One, the Player of the Year was being voted on that day by the crowd on slips of paper, nothing online, and there was a piece of paper for all the people on the terraces or on the seat, and I did that. I scored. And poor David White, who'd had an unbelievable year, should have won Player of the Year and didn't because of that. And the other thing is, as Derby County fans remind me every time I see them, that put them down. Yes. So I'm not very popular in Derby.
in the Derby. We've got we did a show before for the women's game against Arsenal, which finished 2-2. We got Karen Bars in the studio. You got a seal of approval from KB there in the corner for the set. I'd love to know if that's been done. Has anyone else done that? Do we know to score and save a penalty in the game?
I don't know. I don't know where I got the confidence from. I played Gaelic football, and the bit that's not on TV, they obviously cut the tape. I came for the corner. And I caught the corner like a good old-fashioned Gaelic football catch, and I knocked Mick Harford and Mark Wright over. And the two of them got up and looked at me, like, you know, and I went, okay, I won't do that again, you know. Yeah, it was a good day. Good day.
And then, of course, then you're saying it's Sunderland that got under your skin, and you know.
Well, I was so grateful. My career looked over. I'd gone to Thailand to try and find a club in Thailand from Manchester City. My injury wasn't clearing up, and Sunderland took a chance on me. I was about to sign for a club in Selangor, and Sunderland came in at the last minute, and I went up there, and I repaid them. By 5 games in, I did my other cruise ship. Oh. So I was in a real low place, you know, and they just stayed with me, you know, and I tried to come back too early when I was up there, but when it started to happen for us, and you see what it means, what football means to the people up there, I bought into that because I was craving it. It was the end of my career, and I wanted it more and more. I wanted it to go on. And a fella called Kevin Phillips walked in the gates one day, and that gave me an extra 2 or 3 years, you know, maybe more. He was exceptional, won the European Golden Boot playing for Sunderland. I mean, that's you can't even make that up, you know, and be taken serious. So it was a nice finish, but I always feel there was something unfinished here. Yeah. I always feel that. Arsenal, I did what I did, couldn't break into that sort of structure. Sunderland, it was great to do it, but it bugs me that we had a team that were good enough to finish 5th, that could go toe-to-toe with United, but they beat us 3-2 in the last minute. You know, we were so near, but yet so far.
Yes. That was a good side, that as well, Niall.
Yeah, we had some really good players. We did. We had some good players. Paul Walsh was a very good finisher. Peter Beagley could play when you knew if he was going to cross it or not.
Check.
You know, you'd be you'd be getting frustrated when Rick Holden then came. Great. So I always remember the crosses of the ball. Yeah. Okay. Nicky Summerby, you know, probably a better striker of the ball than his dad. Yeah. And I tried.
Don't tell Mike that.
No, I wouldn't tell Mike that. No, not in his company anyway. Yeah. You can tell him.
And now we've got, there's a tribute here happening in the stadium, and we're going to be doing one at the end of the show as well. But I know you just also wanted to speak about, of course, the importance of Sir Howard Bernstein. It'd be lovely to get your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Well, you know, one thing I remember was the devastation that the bomb in Manchester in the mid-90s caused the city, and this man stood up taller than anybody to rebuild the city. So I think Man City are rightly honouring him here today, but I think the whole of Manchester should tip their hat to a man who's done so much for the city, you know. All those big buildings you see, all the regeneration of the city, he's been behind all that. Train, trams, all the different things that have come into it. Quiet, unassuming way, he got a city to be great again. And this stadium here probably mightn't be here only for him. Yeah. I'd say that his mark has been left, and I think it's something that everybody who's spent time in Manchester, who knows the Manchester way, be you blue, be you red, whatever it is, here's a guy who you know, the whole city needs to stand up and say what a great man he was. And I hope people will remember that, and that his legacy will live on.
Absolutely. Thank you for that beautiful tribute, and that legacy will live on there. That was unveiled yesterday, a very special mosaic that was unveiled on the Sir Howard Bernstein Way here at the Etihad Stadium, and we're of course sending thoughts, love and condolences to all his family as well. Right, we have got, well, 21 minutes until kick-off, so we're going to now look back at some of our favourite moments between these two sides, of which there have been plenty. We spoke to fans and family of the Manchester City, including some of our friends here from Matchday Live, to get their memorable moments.
That 15-year gap between Adebayor's celebration and now, is there one particular game or moment from against Arsenal that sits in your head other than the Adebayor?
It was almost like Adebayor Part 2. It was New Year's Day 2022. Went to Arsenal, they were looking good, looking sharp, and Rodri, 94th minute, scores, and he goes and knee slides with his shirt off waving it, of the Arsenal fans.
Rodri scoring the winner at the Emirates, 21-22 season, I think it was. And Arsenal went 1-0 up, then lost the Reds. Mahrez scores in the penalty spot. Gabriel gets sent off, and then the last minute Rodri scored and celebrated right in front of the Arsenal fans. So I'm going to go for that.
One for me was when Rodri scored in the last minute at the Emirates. Sort of just sums up Manchester City's approach to football. It sums up Pep Guardiola's approach to football, and that if you never give up, you keep on doing the right things, you'll get your break.
My most memorable moment would be when the big Viking had his hair down and scored against Arsenal and made it 3-1. That would be one that I would stick.
Well, my memory recently, I was pitch side at the Emirates, the title was in the balance, February 2023. I remember Tommy Asu under a little bit of pressure, and the ball sweeps down that left-hand side. Kevin De Bruyne just nips in, left-footed, brilliant finish right over the top of the goalkeeper. City went on to win 3-1. Interviewed Mikel Arteta, absolutely fuming after the game that his side never got anything. So I really enjoyed that day at the Emirates.
Rodri, Manchester City 5, Arsenal 0, 28th of August 2021. Rodri hits it on the edge of the box, along the floor. The ball shapes outside the width of the goal, comes back into the bottom corner. Typical Rodri, what a finish.
So, when trying to think of one of my favourite memories between the City and Arsenal, I had two, classic, couldn't decide. I was either going to go for the Kevin De Bruyne goal when we won 4-1, where he just really took the game by the scruff of the neck. He thought, I'm the boss, rolled it through. Was he going to pass it? No, he slotted it. But that's not the one I'm going for. I'm going to go for 2013, the 9-goal thriller, Manchester City 6. Arsenal 3, an amazing game at the Etihad. It was absolutely rocking, and some beautiful goals and assists as well. So I'll go with that. Manchester City 6, Arsenal 3. What a game.
That first De Bruyne goal, when he's outside the box and he basically, he basically, we were right behind there. You know, I sit right behind the goal, and to see a player of that ability bend the ball with such, he didn't really have any backswing on it, and the goalkeeper had full sight of it, and he couldn't even get his fingers on it. So I remember going down to Arsenal in the 80s. I went down there. We had, I can't even think we ever got a point down there. We were always outplayed, and I think there's been a real shift in power. I don't go down the Emirates now as it is with the fears that I had when I was a teenager going down to Highbury. I go down there expecting to win, if I'm honest. So it's been a massive shift.
And I'm sure, hopefully, this game will be bringing more memorable moments. If you've just tuned in, I'm alongside Paul Dickov and Niall Quinn. Thank you for joining us. We had a double header today. I was with you earlier, maybe you tuned in, because our women's team kicked off their WSL season with a game against Arsenal at the Emirates. It finished 2-2. I mean, already a goal of the season contender from Jess Park, and our new signing Miedemar also opened the scoring, and we can get her thoughts now, which she gave at full time.
So Viv, probably a bit of a strange feeling for you today, coming to the Emirates and being the visiting team. Do you feel like we maybe would have done enough to have won on another day, given that performance?
I think it was really a game of so many different halves in it. I think Arsenal started stronger. We needed a bit of time to get in our rhythm. Then we were on top for a bit, and I think that's what you always get when you've got two teams that can play football and have got a lot of quality on the pitch. And I think when we went 2-1 up, we had a couple of moments that we probably should have scored the 3-1, but at the same time they missed a couple of big chances as well. And I think in the end the draw is probably a fair result.
Absolutely. When you concede that late goal and then Arsenal are putting the pressure on, just important to make sure that you don't end up losing that game. So in a way, that's a real positive and shows the grit and the professionalism of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously it's been a tough start of the season. I think same for Arsenal as well. You play Champions League, you play a league game against each other, and then you play Champions League again, and you need to be ready straight away. And I think coming away here with a result is really, really big for us leading into the season.
Let's talk about your goal. Brilliant movement to open up the space, and maybe a bit of fortune with the deflection, but you make your own look, and you must be really pleased with getting on the score sheet.
Football gods were with me today. Yeah, obviously, it was tough for me coming back to the Emirates today, and I think that just felt like a relief. Obviously, started scoring for the new club, and I'm just really pleased with that.
You could have scored even earlier as well with that long ranger. That must have been frustrating not to see that one go in as well.
Yeah, I mean, I seen mine too far off a line, and I was in two minds whether to go over or next to it. But yeah, what I said, first game of the season, happy to get a goal, happy to get this game out the way and just focus on next game.
Absolutely, and we've got to talk about Jess Park's goal as well. I mean, she's showing time and again how good a player she is, but what a finish that was.
I can't tell you that since I was on the ground, still half fighting with Lotte and Kim, but all I seen was the ball in the back of the net, so I will look back at.
Just me, it's a good one. You should watch it later.
I will do.
And just finally, obviously, a good point to move forward. A big game against Paris FC in midweek, but important to get off the mark in the league early.
No, absolutely. And I mean, my main goal is staying fit, and I wanted to help the team, obviously, with my experience and qualities. And I think at times I've done that today, but I also think that we can expect a wee bit more still from me.
Thanks, Viv. Well played.
No worries.
Well worth checking out those highlights on the Manchester City website, and they are back in action this Thursday. You can watch the return leg of that game against Paris on City Plus, and of course Matchday Live will be with you for that. Man City winning that first leg 5-0 in Paris, so definitely 1 foot into securing qualification, but not done quite yet. Let me recap the team news if you've just tuned in. Starting 11 is on the bottom of your screens. Here are the boys warming up before on the pitch at the Etihad. We've got Ederson in goal. Kyle Walker captains the side. Alongside him in defence is Manuel Akanji, Ruben Diaz and Josko Gvardiol. Moving into midfield, Rodri, Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. And then a forward three of Savinho, Doku and Erling Haaland. On the bench, Ortega, Carson, Stones, Kovacic, Grealish, Nunes, Foden, Lewis and McAtee. And I'll run you through the Arsenal starting 11. Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori, Partey, Rice, Saka, who captains the side, with Trossard, Martinelli and Havertz on their bench as well. Neto, Ben White, Gabriel Jesus, Jorginho, Raheem Sterling, to name a few. Big names. Of course, Raheem Sterling as well will be ringing around a lot of Man City fans' ears. Let's hope he doesn't come on and do what he did when he was playing for Chelsea. Gents, before we get into some final thoughts, the big question around this fixture this week from an Arsenal point of view has been, will they kind of come and do what they did last season, which was kind of almost come set up and play for the draw, which, I mean, wasn't all of it, but did cost them a little bit in that title running. Will they be doing the same today, do you think, Niall, or do you think we'll see something a bit different?
Well, the trend, the way they're developing as a title contender now, they're getting better at games like this. You know, over the last sort of 2 years, you can see a marked improvement of how they approach these big games. I think it's a bit unfair just to say that they're going to come and park the bus. This isn't old-fashioned parking the bus stuff, so, you know, because they've got such dynamism in the team itself that they can move forward quickly, they can do things, and they have this set-piece threat as well. So they're not just sitting back hoping for the best and booting the ball forward. It's a different type of challenge for them than they're used to. But Manchester City are aware of what they're going to be. You know, there's going to be no surprises here, I think, today with what Arsenal line up with. And I think the City guys, you know, and Pep will know everything's right. You know, the first touch that they do, the first things they do in the game, first opening 5-10 minutes, everybody feeling their way in, get really comfortable with what they're up against, and keep persevering and keep believing that it will come. You know, I think I mentioned it way back at the start of the programme. Sometimes when games are set up like this, it takes 60, 70 minutes to really break it down, work out where everything is at, and a few tired legs around the place, a bad decision here and there, and you make your breakthrough. So Man City have to really just keep pressing, keep believing it's coming, and not get frustrated. I think that's the big thing. And they also have to have a little think or two about set pieces and about how Arsenal might do things at the break. But I think, personally, I think the game is set up for City to keep going, keep going at it, use the wide players, do something, you know, I suppose, really penetrative in that first 15, 20 minutes. You know, don't play cat and mouse.
Yes.
Go for them.
I think on Niall's point there, I think Mikel and Arsenal have learned the lesson.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of years ago, now you spoke about the game earlier, the one at the Emirates when we blew them away, but the game back here, Mikel tried to go toe-to-toe.
Yes.
Yeah. Man for man, high press, and we absolutely blew them away.
Yes.
So you've got to give them credit as well, because sometimes managers have got egos as well. That could have took a bit of a hit, but he's thought, you know what, we can't play against this team this way. This is how we're going to do it to try and get a result. You've got to give them credit for it.
Absolutely. I mean, and also from City's point of view, will it give Arsenal a bit of faith, and does City have to be aware of that? We saw a Brentford team come here, and it was, honestly, I think that's the best away team performance I've seen since I can, you know, in the last few years. Came and brought the game to us and could have been 2-3-0 up. Obviously, we conceded early against Ipswich. Inter Milan as well, fashioned their own chances. Does that give Arsenal a bit more hope? And then also, is it something that City have to be aware of?
Maybe a little bit, Kel, but, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, as good as we've been defensively, teams have always looked to hit us in the break. And we've always played that way.
Yeah.
And we're not going to change. But the players trust the process that they've got, because what is it, 4 in a row of just 4 leagues in a row, treble year before, and it works. And if that means being a little bit open at the back, going 2 for 2, leaving at the back sometimes, we're going to do it. Yeah. And that is going to leave you a little bit open, but they trust that. They trust in their goalkeeper. Today it'll be Akanji and Kyle, probably be the two more so, because they've got the pace at the back. Guardiola will probably step into midfield a little bit, so it does leave you a little bit vulnerable, but the players know that. Yes. But they also know at the same time, if they keep the ball and keep the ball the way they do, the opposition's not going to get the chances, but sooner or later they'll break them down.
And if ever Man City do struggle, it's normally little silly things, little small passes go astray, and you can see Pep getting frustrated on that they're not on that lovely 100% roll that he gets them at most of the time. And it'll be interesting to see that they start like that, or do, you've seen it here, where the crowd get a little frustrated, oh, it's a bad pass, what's he doing? Sometimes games start like that, and it takes you a while to get going. But I would imagine, just given the importance of this one, given that it's the pretenders to the throne knocking hard here to get at them, that they will be up for it in a way that we see a polished Man City performance today. I'm expecting that.
FG asked the question before, and I thought it was a great question. Especially because you both played for both, but do you think we're watching the two teams? Granted, I know which one I want to finish top, but that are going to finish in first and second. Do you think today? Yeah,
Liverpool may surprise us and put in a big showing, and after that, I can't see anyone's sprouting out, putting a run of form together. Though having said that, I sat and did TV and told everybody for about 6 months that Leicester couldn't possibly win the league.
We all did. I think everybody did.
So I'm not going to go there. But at the same time, I think today we're looking at the champions, of course. We're looking at the kings of the Premier League, but the pretenders are coming and they're getting better at what they do. Mm-hmm. And today is about Man City putting that back in its place, or it's about Arsenal saying, yeah, we're ready to go. So I think an Arsenal positive result means more to them than... So just talk about the draw, say, right? If the draw comes along, I think Arsenal will be delighted. Yeah. It really rubber stamps that they're on their way to challenging for the title, and it'll be decided against other teams, not here today. But if City win it, you're almost saying business as usual.
Yeah. One thing as well City will not want to do, of course, is what we can see like pictures here. Khaldoon is in the stadium as well, which is great to see alongside Soriano there as well. But just not conceding early and starting strong is paramount today, Paul, for City.
Yeah, it is. We touched obviously the early goal against Brentford, the early goal against Ipswich. Can't afford to do that today. But it's going to be a fascinating game. But I just think Arsenal will want to come here and show everybody that they can challenge Man City, but Man City, the way they are, they want to put them to bed. They want to put a marker down and say, we are the champions and this is what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we'll be hoping for as well. Well, slowly but surely you can see the teams making their way into the tunnel. Just before I hand over to our commentary team, I just want to take another moment because we, of course, going to be thinking about sending love to the family and friends of Sir Howard Bernstein, not only a legend for Manchester City, but as Niall said in a really beautiful tribute, but a legend of Manchester as well for the work that he did. And we unveiled a very special mosaic here at the Etihad Stadium to commemorate his life and all he did here at the club, the life of Sir Howard Bernstein, who was one of our honorary presidents here at Manchester City. There will be a round of applause before kick-off, and again, we send all our love thoughts to his family and our appreciation to Sir Howard. Gents, just quickly then, can I get your predictions, please? Paul, don't smile at me like that. What are you thinking?
I'm going to go 3-1 Man City.
3-1 Man City from Paul. Surprise there from Niall. What are you thinking?
I'll jump in on the same bandwagon that City are going to win the game, but maybe 2-0.
2-0. Lovely stuff. Well, what a show. Thank you so much for joining us. Massive thank you to Niall and to Paul. Do come join us at half-time and at full-time, where we're going to be talking about all the action that's about to unfold on the pitch behind me here in the studio. What a game we have upon us. It is Manchester City versus Arsenal. We'll be back. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget, Alistair Mann is joined by Andy Morrison as part of your commentary team today. Massive thank you again. Let's hope the big man's back on the score sheet. Final thing for me to say is come on City.